the land, and perhaps where we are tonight, today in the country. I'm being joined by a former member of the House of Representatives, in all sense of it, an elder statesman, a political activist, and scholar, Dr. Usman Bugaje. He joins us live here in our Abuja studio. It's a pleasure having you, and it's good to see you again.
My pleasure, Sean.
Thank you so much indeed. Where do we go from here? Did you ever imagine that the naira is going to sell to the dollar at about 1,500? Did you ever imagine that cement is going to sell up to 10,000 naira in some part of Nigeria? Did you ever imagine that noodles is going to sell for what is sold today, tomatoes, sardine, and the rest of all of these essential commodities? A bag of rice has gone into a state that one will ever imagine in our lifetime.
Certainly, a lot of the things that we are seeing today are not conceivable a few years back. Yes, we know that the country was going down the drain, and we could see a lot of the problems.
So we could see that this was going to happen years back?
No, not as bad as it is at the moment. Sadly, the speed with which it has happened and the depth of the problems that we have found ourselves are not things that we had anticipated. Yes, we could see the problem. I remember as far back as 2007, well, actually 2005, 2007, there were signs. And I remember then I was the member of the PDP in the House of Representatives, and I did draw the attention of the chairman of our party, Chief Audobe then, that things are likely to get worse if policies do not change. And I specifically drew his attention to a book written by Robert Kaplan with the title, The Coming Anarchy. I did a review article of that, about 15 pages, which I also made available to him and I shared to some of our colleagues. And in that review article, I was myself shocked reading it nearly 15, 16, 17 years after. It is speaking to the issues that we are actually witnessing today. It's just like when the last regime took over in 2015, by 2016, it was clear that it did not have the capacity to deliver. But even then, we never expected that they would, do the level of pillage and, basically looting of the treasury, as it's becoming very clear at the moment. Similarly, we had expected that when this leadership, or when the new government took over from TINUBU, we were expecting that he has around him expertise. And we were expecting that for him to have announced the removal of subsidy, he must have done a plan, something that will, address the consequences of that. You don't take a policy without, make a policy without looking at the consequences and preparing to cushion the effect of that. But apparently, he did that without any preparation. And so what is happening at the moment is something that has been anticipated, but like I said, the extent to which it has come is something that is baffling. And I still think those in government, talking to them, they don't seem to even understand this reality. They seem to think that is somebody somewhere manipulating something.
So you think there is a disconnect?
I think so. Because you see,
from people around the president,
if you want to know what is happening, talk to the to the pastors and to the imams, because that's where poor people run to. They have easy access to these people, and they go to them normally, because when you are in this big trouble, you look for God, right? You sort of surrender more, because you have come to the end of your wits. You have nothing more to. And from these people, we have information that people are actually, some of them are eating dead meat. There are people who are feeding their families with dead meat because they have nothing.
Nigerians are pushed to the wall.
Exactly.
They've come to the wit end.
Exactly. So if they knew what is happening, they wouldn't be doing the kind of terrible
Are you
things they are doing.
disappointed because you mentioned President Bola Tinubu is someone you know very well? You perhaps at some point worked closely with him. Are you surprised at the outcome or the performance of his government in the last 8 months?
I have said it, Seun, I'm extremely disappointed. I used to know him to be someone who is always reading, is always engaging, but I have not seen that at all. And I can see a lot of sycophancy around him. People are not engaging him. They're not telling him the truth. And he seems to be very comfortable with the kind of people that he has around them that don't seem to have any ideas in their head. They don't seem to have any solution to the problems that we have. And they're always trying to find excuses. I understand one of the ministers was even saying that things are improving. How can they be improving when people are in the mess they are at the moment? How can they be improving when the insecurity has reached that level where even Abuja, the capital, is not safe? How can things be improving? And they are, when they come to the solutions, they are repeating what has been done 40 years ago without any success. They are looking at controlling prices. How can you control the prices of things that you don't have? I mean, Buhari in his military era, tried doing that. Opening stores and giving, but that didn't solve the problem. And you're talking about palliatives. Government has demonstrated very clearly that they are the worst handlers of palliative. They have never done this thing very well. From the COVID time to date, we have seen how much scandals are now. So, it's not something that
Buhari came into. We need to wrap up in 6 seconds.
We need to do the food. The food system. Now, if you take a census of what we have, you have to find a way of subsidizing, the food directly,
from the farmers.
Yeah, not in the form of palliatives. No, the farmers, you have to plan for this rainy season coming and the dry seasons. You have to be able to bring down the input and do things that will raise the productivity. Now, time will not allow for me to, but I give you just an example. The vegetables we produce in Nigeria, the productivity of vegetables in Nigeria is less than half the African average. The tomatoes we produce is less than a quarter of the African average. Almost everything that I can give you the figures, because this is a field I have been working on for the last few years. And every effort we have done to raise this productivity is resisted by both the state government and the federal government. Cuba, this country, this small Caribbean, country. For example, the African average for tomatoes is about 20 metric tons. Nigeria does barely 5 or so metric tons per hectare. Cuba does 120 metric tons per hectare.
Wow.
And Cuba has offered us tuition free to train our people. And they gave us, bring an agronomist, agricultural engineers, soil scientists, this and that, and we will train them free. And we will follow them up and show them how to do innovation centers. And I've been on this for 5 years. Through FARA. FARA is the Forum for Agricultural Research in Africa. It's an AU body with its headquarters in Ghana.
Dr. Bugaje.
We have gone to Africa in Nairobi. We have taken some people to go and said, there are things that we have tried doing, and this government simply doesn't understand. These politicians don't read. They have no idea of how to run. All ideas is just about how do they do budget and steal and loot the treasury. And that's where we are where we are.
Dr. Bugaje, we need to go now. But always a pleasure having you.
My pleasure.
I see the light at the end of the tunnel, not because I literally see one, but because I am an incurable optimist about the project Nigeria, and I do believe that this country is headed.
Maybe one last word.
Okay.
You see, Seun, it's okay we can blame the government, but that doesn't solve our problem. I can say that the government has failed to do this. I think the elite in this country need to be more organized and more productive. We have people who have got the expertise. And if we come together and say, this is what we want, we can meet the people in the National Assembly.
All right.
I mean, it's our country, right?
Absolutely.
So it doesn't give me pleasure that I have a government that is failing. I'm not pleased about it. And I'm not pleased talking about it. I'm angry, but I'm also saddened. Right. But we have the expertise. And so all the Falanas, the Abakobas, the college teamers, all these leaders of civil society that have around them expertise, we should all come together and say, hey, this is the way out.
From a unit
and let it be on record. Group, yeah. Let it be on record that we have done what we need to do when we need to do it.
Dr. Usman Bugaje, a political activist, a former member of the House of Reps in every sense of the word. He's an elder statesman. Thank you so much. He's full of knowledge.